Imagine that I have a stack of cards. Each one of these cards has a letter on one side and a color on the other side. The letter is either an A or a B, the color is either green or red. I set 4 cards out in front of you, 2 face up, 2 face down. You see a card with the letter A on it, one with the letter B, and one that is green, and one that's red. I'm telling you that this deck of cards follows a very simple rule. Any card that has a B on one side always has red on the other side. Your task is to test my rule as best you can, and you're allowed to flip over 2 of these cards in order to test it. Which 2 cards does it make the most sense to flip over in order to test my claim that any card with a B on one side is red on the other side? Feel free to pause the video for a second to think about it if you'd like. Now, the answer that many people come to, especially without much time to think about it, is that flipping the B card and the red card is the best way to test my rule. But this isn't the case. The best method is actually to flip the B card and the green card. Flipping the red card tells you absolutely nothing at all about my rule, while flipping the green card can tell you plenty. Now, why is that? Well, let's go through it by looking at each outcome. If you flip the B card and the color on the other side is red, then so far my rule is true. But if you flip the B card and the other side is green, you have now disproven my rule. Fair enough. But if you flip the red card, what exactly do you learn? Remember, I never claimed that every red card has a B on the other side, just that every B card has red on the other side. In the context of my rule, red is the output, not the input. So if you flip the red card and it turns out to have a letter A on the other side, you haven't proven anything, because I made no claim about red cards as an input, only as a consequence of the card B. But by flipping the green card, you have a chance to completely disprove my rule, because it's a false result. If you flip the green card and it has a B on the other side, you've now disproven my rule, because B is only supposed to go with red. Lastly, flipping the A is pointless because my rule makes no direct claims about A, either as an input or an output. The thing to take away from this is that you know that according to my rule, either input can lead to a red card, and either output can come from the A card. But you also know that according to my rule, only one output can come from the B card, and only one input can lead to a green card. Because obviously, if my rule is true, a green card can't have the letter B on the other side. B is always supposed to result in red, so green cards have to have A on the other side. This test demonstrates a crucial logical fallacy that can be easy to overlook in day-to-day life. Choosing to test the positive result instead of the negative result is what's known as affirming the consequent. For a real-world example, if the power to your house is out, then your television is off. That's a perfectly reasonable statement. But the converse statement, that is, if your television is off, then the power is out, is absurd. There are other possible reasons for your television being off, such as, well, you have it turned off, or it's not plugged in, or it's broken. If you keep this rule in mind in your day-to-day life, you'll see how easy it can be for you or others to make this logical fallacy. Back to our card test, flipping the A card is what is known as denying the antecedent, which is equally illogical. For example, take in the reasonable statement of, if you have read Lord of the Rings, then you know how to read, and turning it into, you have not read Lord of the Rings, therefore you don't know how to read. This test illustrates just one of many types of logical elements that are vitally important to quite literally every field of study: math, law, history, and just as much as any other, computer science. It was devised in 1966 by Peter Wayson, and it is known as the Wason selection task.